Alrighty, good morning and welcome back to Florida Senior Living Association's Coffee Break Series. Today we have a great episode lined up for you. Amba Health is joining us along with Certus Premier Memory Care Living. We're really excited about today. We're glad you all have joined us. Hopefully you have your coffee in hand and we're going to go ahead and just get rolling into it. Amba provides passive monitoring using no cameras, no audio, no wearables to monitor sleep, health, activity, and unlock hidden concerns with residents while staying discreet and preserving that independence and dignity of the residents. Stu Hamilton is the founder of Amba, and he founded Amba purely to take care of his aging mother. He wanted to be alerted for specific concerns before they occurred. And he learned through this process that random consumer devices were hard to manage. He integrated these devices into a single dashboard and built an intelligence around the whole thing, giving him, he created this system. So giving him green, which meant all good, amber, which meant concerning trends, and red, which meant immediate concern. So he kept it simple. Today, Amba serves about thousands of seniors in over 100 communities throughout the U.S., Canada, and the United Kingdom. So I'm pleased today welcome Danielle. She's the sales director of Amba, and Shane Potter, who's the vice president of operations and sales at Certus Premier Memory Care Living. So Danielle, thanks for joining us. Do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got started at Amba?
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to meet you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Danielle with Amba, located in Southeast Florida. So very appreciative of the work that FSLA does with us as well. Started with Amba just coming up on a year ago. I've spent most of the last 10 years in various tech and AI solutions, but really got drawn onto the mission of what Amba's doing for preventative care in the senior living space. I know I was personally affected with, aging grandparents and now aging parents, and seeing really the lack of technology. We live in an amazing period of time where we do have access to fantastic tools, and I'm really proud to be part of it today. So thanks again for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's it's kind of funny hearing that similar entry into senior living. As we all have to deal with it at some point in our lives. It's a reality that's true, and we want to make sure we take care of our seniors. Shane, welcome. If you don't mind telling us a little bit about yourself, we'd love to learn something.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. I started off in long-term care in 2010 as a CNA. I started off in nursing homes, and I was caregiving, and I had an administrator. After I was there for about a year, he said, I think you could be an administrator. And I had no idea what that meant, but that started my journey, and I got my nursing home administrator license in 2013, moved over to senior living in 2015, and have been in senior living ever since, and really kind of got more interested in memory care when I had the chance to meet Teepa Snow in 2017 and go through her positive approach to care program, started educating others on caring for people with dementia. And so I've been with Certus in September of 2023. Certus only does memory care. That's all that we focus on. And so I love being here. Started as an executive director. I'm now the VP of Ops and Sales. I've been in that role for about a year now. And I love our focus. Like I said, all we care for is people with some form of dementia. Our youngest resident is 42. Our oldest is 104. So we take care of a wide range of dementia, and even have people with TBIs. And it's definitely where I think I'm meant to be. So, yeah.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. So let's go ahead and get into the meat of our discussion. Danielle, when we talk about technology, we like to keep our independence. So can you kind of speak to Amba's approach to how their whole passively and discreetly, how you guys have accomplished those assets?
Yeah, absolutely. So you had mentioned kind of how we started, and really what inspired Stu was, seeing that the only technologies out there were big red buttons or invasive cameras. Like there has to be some discrete, sensors. So we really leverage the most discrete sensors to track key areas like sleep, health, and activity. And we don't use any video, audio recordings, no wearables primarily. And it's really important for aging seniors to really preserve their dignity and not have something in their room that's screaming vulnerability. Now, this is nothing against, other technologies and solutions that are out there that are kind of monitoring in a little bit more of an invasive way. But because we are looking at preventative patterns, we are able to do so without really loud or alarming technologies. We also install these sensors throughout the room without any construction or wiring. So most of them, they'll really never see in the room. I actually have a couple examples here, like the sleep mat that we use. Oh, and it might be a little hard to see with my background. Really thin, it goes underneath the mattress. It does plug into the wall, but they'll never know it's there. They'll never feel it. And that's tracking a lot of key metrics that we'll talk about today. Motion sensor is this tiny little 2-inch by 2-inch box that goes on the ceiling or wall. And it doesn't record anything. It all goes by motion censorship. And then this is my favorite. It looks like a little nail file. Goes on top of the door to detect doors opening and closing, so we can track things like frequent restroom visits. So as you can see, we're not using anything that's pretty loud or bulky or gonna, disrupt the home environment.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's almost like it's hidden in plain sight. Great. So, commonly with technology, whether we're talking an iPhone or laptops or anything, over time, tech becomes obsolete. How does Amba address, an evolving, tech environment?
Yeah, great question. I think it's, definitely worth pointing out that we are device agnostic. We actually don't manufacture or create any of the devices. We go out and source them from the best companies out there. And these are companies that are creating, all different types of either senior aging or wellness devices. And we do so because, if we had just one sleep mat, we're confined to either, certain mattresses or whatnot. So we actually have other sleep mat devices that we could use, but we're going out and getting them from the most reputable companies. We really research very, intensely. We vet these new devices, test them to see if they can integrate appropriately with our system, and often are looking at, is there a better solution out there? So again, we're not confined or restricted to certain solutions. And then the best part is these devices typically have like a 5 to 10 year battery life. So our clients are not going to implement a program without confidently knowing like they don't have to constantly replace it or upgrade devices. So, between the battery life and just constantly looking at the most effective solutions for our clients, that's really our best way to address that.
Great approach. So tell me a little bit more about the specific metrics or information that you might gather across those. I think those 3 devices you showed us.
Yep. And just to clarify, we do integrate with a number of other different solutions related to like nutrition and other health and safety things. But these are kind of our core and where we see the most outcomes. So we're tracking most metrics between sleep, health, and activity for these residents. So overall sleep quality, we're able to track the overall quality of a resident's sleep, including sleep duration, in and out of bed activity, so how long they're in bed, if they're getting out of bed frequently. The main sensor that we use for the sleep mat also is going to detect vitals like heart rate and respiratory rate. So think about the hours that a resident is in bed without your staff having to go and, take those vitals for them. We're able to see a lot of change in patterns that might happen over time when you're collecting so much data. And then throughout the use of our motion and door sensors, we can track in-room activity or inactivity if someone got out of bed and isn't moving. And then also frequent restroom visits. So what we're often seeing is, someone's waking up frequently in the middle of the night and making several trips to the restroom might indicate something like early signs of a UTI.
Yeah. So how does from your perspective, how does the staff, are they accepting of this technology in their communities?
Yeah, they are, and they're really, excited that they have a tool at their fingertips to really help them give more preventative, personalized care. We really pride ourselves on being an extension of staff. I think what's common in any sort of, implementing new tech is, especially when there's like AI components, because I'll talk a little bit about that later, but you hear constantly, oh, we're getting a new technology. This might replace my job or make it more difficult and add more operations. But really, they appreciate having visibility into a resident's, room, right? We call it like almost having superhero patterns. I'm sure Shane can attest to this, but you have residents' family come in and they almost expect that you're going to be sitting in the room with their family 24/7, and it's just not the case. So being able to notify them when they do need to get to a room at the right time without having to, again, monitor a dashboard. We do have built-in AI as well called Hey Amba, and this enables staff to do a couple different things. They could request resident patterns and profiles, such as, how a resident's sleep or health vitals have looked over the last 30 days. They could, export that to share with family members or look to see if there's certain patterns, trends, or declining health that they need to be worrying about. And then also, a broader building need might be, hey, how many residents are currently out of bed right now that we should check on in this moment or on this floor? Because, what you've typically seen is every 1 to 2 hours, there's room checks. Well, what happens with that is you're waking up a resident in the middle of a sound sleep. So what if we knew who actually needed to be addressed? And if we could tell you that other folks are in bed safely, sound, their heart rate and respiratory rate looks good, don't go wake them up in the middle of the night. Because guess what happens? That door closes and they might, wake up and it disrupts their sleep for the rest of the night. So they really especially love that they're able to prevent something like a fall or a hospitalization happen. So it makes their job, ultimately more effective and provide the best quality of care to those that need it in that time without having to kind of use a blanket approach delivery of care.
Absolutely. Sure, that's what would make Shane happier too, to limit those struggles. Tell me, what has been the biggest, aha moment for your clients, for your communities?
Yeah. So I'll give you kind of an overview of like how this gets set up. So once we successfully install in a community, we're going to let these sensors and devices run for a couple of weeks to really understand a baseline of these residents' health. So, I trust your care staff knows everything they need to know about Bob or Jan, but they'd be surprised to learn that Bob or Jan only sleeps 3 hours a night or makes frequent trips to the restroom. So, folks that they've cared for years, they learn new things about that, and it allows them to have just a better insight into what's happening there. But often, once we've let that data run, we'll come in and train the staff on kind of what this data means, set up the right alerts for those residents, depending on what we find. And it's almost every time when we're training the staff that we're teaching them something, or something might happen in that moment. We had one specific incident where we were training staff to, on the data. They went, someone checked on a resident in real time, closed the door, resident got up and fell. They were not due to check that resident for 2 more hours, but because we were there, we had access to know, hey, there's some inactivity, they're out of bed, let's go check on them now. And they were able to get to the room in minutes without having that resident lay on the floor for potentially up to 2 hours before being checked again. So those kinds of circumstances are happening, but the goal is to obviously prevent that fall. But it's usually, without giving a long-winded answer, the aha is like, okay, these are things that we just don't, you have another set of eyes in the room. So you just learn a lot about these residents, and what you think is normal might not be.
Okay. So Shane, after hearing that, why did you choose Amba to implement into your communities?
Yeah, so Amba's really cool. We love it. Obviously, we've implemented in all the service communities, and we were trying to find a solution. So when I took over as the VP about a year ago, I was looking for a solution that I wanted to be able to see into the rooms, as Daniela said, without actually seeing, without a camera. I think our goal is always to be, how can we be the least invasive for our residents, and how do we protect their privacy? But also in memory care, how do I know what's happening? And we were experiencing a frustration. To your point, Danielle, that story of opening a door and a resident falling, we had that numerous times. So we were trying to find a different solution. We also had residents who were just up a lot at night, and our previous system was old and outdated, and so there was a motion sensor feature, but it told us every time a person got out of bed. Some of the residents were getting out of bed 10 times a night, 20 times a night. And some residents, that's okay. They're safe to do that, but maybe we need to check on them after 30 minutes. But I couldn't customize that. So we looked at a lot of different solutions. I think something else I love about Amba is that they're not making the product. So if something better is out there, they'll switch things for us. That's huge, because to your point, I don't want something that's obsolete, or it's going to be obsolete in 5 years or even 2 years. And then I think too, the cost. Our big focus here is how do we keep the cost down to our clients? It's expensive for memory care, it's expensive for senior living. Adding on another cost for us and then having to pass that on to the resident, that was something we wanted to avoid. So Amba is extremely affordable. We're not charging back anything to our customers. We're including it in our rates because it was such a low impact. It was something that we felt like we could just eat that cost, and we do every month. And it's absolutely worth it, the value that it provides. And again, there's no impact financially to our residents, which allows them to live with us longer.
Now, I know I asked Danielle about their perspective of, the implementation, how your staff receives it. Can you tell us from your point of view, how does your staff, how do they do they see benefits from implementing Amba?
Oh yeah, and I got to give a shout out to Danielle and George and Jenna. Their team, customer service, has been second to none. So if there's an issue, we reach out to them. Implementation was very easy. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows, like, getting a new system, thinking about a new system, nobody wants to do it. I have to train all of our staff, and then I'm thinking about doing it across 4 communities, and it seems daunting. And like, how am I going to get everybody on board? Again, all the struggles that we have with staffing and just getting staff to use all of our systems. So what I love about it is it's easy. It's easy to use. Again, something else that we were looking for. Also, it's easy for my wellness director. There's a dashboard that they can just log in and see virtually what's happening with residents. I love the score. I love the red, yellow, green. That's big. Whatever we can do, in my opinion, to offload this work on our wellness directors, I'm all about, because they work the hardest. And same with our caregivers. So they like it too, because we can focus on the residents that we need to. So every resident is important to us, but some residents just require more oversight and more check-ins at night. Others don't. And, like this blanket approach, we were just checking on everybody every 2 hours, going in, disturbing some people. Now it lets us actually, in my opinion, our employees, they're just, they're more effective, and they're checking on the residents that they need to. So I think the ease of use, it's easy to get the buy-in from them, and the way that they do the implementation. So the implementation was really seamless. Again, it's not invasive. We're not drilling holes at the walls. Another huge plus for me, another huge plus for my maintenance director, because we're not breaking into anything. It's very, very, it's just not invasive for us as well as a community. It was really quick. Installations like a day or two. And like Danielle mentioned, they let the system go, and then they come in and do training for us. So they make it really easy, and it's hard. It's hard to find somebody to work with that makes installation, training our staff super easy. So I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah, customer service always is the biggest game changer for people. So tell me, after implementing Amba in their platform, are there any changes you plan on making from what you've learned since your implementation?
In terms of changes, I guess I'm thinking resident focused here, so we're definitely going to keep Amba. But I think there's daily things that we're learning. We're learning. There are residents who we had no idea that they were up as often as they were at night. They might not leave their bed, but we're finding the residents, they're not sleeping just because they're in bed. So I think that's been one of the number one moments for us is the sleep. Sleep is just crucial. And then especially in memory care. And so it changes our approach when we have a resident move in. And I say this all the time, a person progresses in dementia, you don't know when it's going to happen. There's no big announcement. It's just random on a Tuesday and they progress in their journey. How do we know that? Well, this is helping us know that. We can see trends with our residents, and is somebody progressing in their journey, or maybe they have a UTI? There's so much data we're getting from this without actually having to have a camera in the room or having to physically lay eyes on people all the time and disrupt them. And so I think we have already made changes to how we approach certain residents. We've already made changes on, sometimes it's not that we're like anti-medicine, but Certus communities are all built the same, and we're built and structured for people living with dementia. Our goal is, if we don't have to put you on a medication, we don't want to. With the environment, with a partner like Amba, maybe we can structure toileting. There's so many interventions we can do before we jump to it, or maybe it is the wrong type of medication that we need. So it just changes the way that we approach each resident. And then it's one of those things that it's ongoing. So we get to learn about the residents as they continue to progress in their journey, because that is our goal. Our goal at Certus is somebody stays with us. We pride ourselves on longevity. We just had a resident pass last month. She lived with us for 7 years. That's unheard of in senior living, especially in memory care. And our average length of stay is much longer than your typical memory care senior living. And it's because of the environment, and then also partners like Amba, where we can adjust to meet that person's need. Again, the goal is longevity and quality of life, and this helps us do that.
If I could just add one thing to that, Lou, you definitely press on something that's so critical. I'm obviously not an aging senior in memory care, but I'm obsessed with my sleep patterns through my Aura ring. If I feel groggy one day, I'm constantly okay, what happened? But you talked about something really important about the medication. I know you came on board with Amba, you're still collecting some data, but we had a client out of the Northeast. Within 3 months, they reduced psychotropic drug use by 81%. They approached us about that. They're I think that, once we're going to have all this data into sleep patterns and behavior, it's going to tell us a very interesting story that we might not have otherwise, have known. And they recognize, especially in memory care, they can't tell you, or when they are telling you they didn't sleep well, it's kind of like a broken record, right? Well, what if you found out that residents really are only sleeping a couple hours a night? Is it necessary to prescribe the medicine? Let's look at other ways that we can organically get those sleep patterns better, right? Is a better routine, diet and exercise, just anything that you can address that without the use of psychotropic drug use. Just appreciate you bringing that up, Shane, because I think that's super important, and again is going to add to that longevity if we can address the core issues of why they might not be sleeping well, or changes in those behaviors that gets them aging in place a lot longer.
Yeah, sleep, it's a snowball effect. And so for us, we really don't like to use the word behaviors, but if I don't sleep well, then I have behaviors the next day. I'm cranky, I'm moody. So now imagine if I can't verbalize that and I'm living with dementia, and we're a social model. And so we want people to participate in engagement. Who feels like doing that when you've had an hour of sleep? You don't want to do that. You don't want to eat. It snowballs to so many things, but we're looking at a resident going, oh, they don't want to eat. Maybe they're not hungry. That's not the case. Maybe it's because they had really poor sleep. Maybe that's why they have in quotations, a behavior. And now it's more difficult to help them in the shower. Now it's more difficult to get them to participate in engagement. So I'm looking at this and saying sleep is the number one thing for all of us, but especially for our seniors and the people living with dementia. And again, that translates to everything they do. So then they have a better quality of life, because their day-to-day here is a better experience because they're better rested. So that's something. And again, and then the number one thing we're concerned with is falls. So if you're tired and you're groggy, you're just going to be more prone to fall. And then add on top of that medications. That's why we see so many falls, and we've already seen a reduction in that. And we're new to Amba. I mean, we started, I think in August is when we were fully implemented in our first community. And we already have data that says, wow, we've already cut down on falls. We've already cut down on how we're changing with medication use. So it's been great.
Yeah, that's wonderful. At this point, we'd like to open it up. If anybody in the audience has questions, feel free to write them out in the chat. While you do that, in the meantime, Danielle, are you coming to Engage, our summer conference in July?
I am very excited for Jim Cantori. I'm a huge weather nerd, so hopefully he doesn't bring any bad luck for us Floridians. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
That's great. Shane, are we going to see you there? Or any of the team?
Yeah.
Awesome. We'd love
Figure
to
out what I'm going to wear with the weather theme. It's a lot of raincoats.
A lot of raincoats, a lot of rain hats. I'm sure that'll be the popular choice. But it looks like we got this pretty good today. I'm drinking all my coffee, so it's cold now. But we want to thank both Danielle and Shane for taking part and joining us, and all of you that have joined in. We're excited to have you here. We're looking forward to our next episode. And we can't wait to see you at Engage. If you haven't registered already, please do so now. It's going to be a great year, great conference. It's a fantastic location at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando. So again, we hope to see you there. But until then, thank you again, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks, Lou. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Thanks, y'all.